Last month, I gave you guys a look at my favorite games of 2015 so far, so to follow up on that, I want to show you guys the 5 games I'm the most excited for that have yet to release. Now, these aren't the 5 objectively best games coming out, I'm not saying these are the most hyped up, these are the 5 that I'm personally looking forward to the most. Now, if you haven't caught on by now, I'm a huge RPG nerd, and that's exactly what a lot of the games on this list are. The first of which is probably one of the most obvious games to go on it, and that's Fallout 4. If you've played any Bethesda game that came out in the past 2 decades, you know exactly what we're looking for in this game. A large open world, in-depth character customization, and tons and tons and tons of content. What makes Fallout 4 even more exciting, though, is that it looks to offer the most amount of customization we've ever seen. You not only have a ton of control over how you customize weapons, armor, and even your own personal power armor set, but you can now also construct your own home base from wreckage you find in the post-apocalyptic landscape and build up defenses for it. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the move to a voiced main character, but looking at all the other stuff this game has to offer from gameplay demos, I'm pretty sure I can overlook this one pet peeve. Now, going from one Western RPG, we have a pair of Japanese RPGs, starting with Persona 5. Now, I'm a longtime fan of the Shin Megami Tensei series, and one of the things I really like about the later Persona games is they do a very good job bridging the sort of dark philosophical roots that the overall franchise has, but also making it a little more lighthearted and episodic in feel, and almost a little more slice of life, so it balances out and makes it a much more accessible game. 5 is doing things even more differently though from 3 and 4, because whereas those ones had kind of a detective vibe going on, this time around you're cat burglars. Now, how much this affects the storyline or the actual gameplay, we don't know yet because details have actually been very skim. Atlus has been very adamant about the fact that the game is coming out this year, but we haven't gotten any full details just yet. However, TGS is ongoing right now, so we should get those details hopefully very soon. Third up, and the other JRPG on this list, is Xenoblade Chronicles X. Now, if there's one thing I love more than a fantasy RPG, it's a fantasy RPG with big-ass robots that let me blow shit up. And that's exactly what this game offers. The original Xenoblade Chronicles was a great RPG on the Wii. In fact, it was probably the best one on the system, but it did have its problems. It suffered from a lot of grinding and a ton of fetch quests, which, if that's fixed in X, could make it a huge surprise hit for this holiday season. In fact, it's already been out in Japan since this past April, where it's been doing extremely well and receiving a ton of critical praise. At number 4, we have Below. Now, this is a game I've been waiting on for quite some time because it was one of the titles that was first teased when the Xbox One was announced, and we've only really gotten trickles of info here and there since. In fact, the last date we were given was 2015, but that was quite some time ago, so it might even be pushed back to early next year, but I want to believe we'll get it soon. I've been a big fan of other games released by Capybara, and looking at the gameplay demos and previews for this game, it just looks like it's going to be a ton of fun, having roguelike elements, fast-paced and deadly combat, and just a huge dungeon area to explore with fantastic visuals. Like I said, the release date on this one isn't solid yet, and it might get pushed back, but here's hoping it keeps that 2015 date. Now, last but definitely not least is probably one of the most hyped up games on this list, and that's Star Wars Battlefront, which I am really excited about, but it's also probably the one title on this list that I'm the most cautious of. See, I'm really excited for it because I am a huge fan of the Star Wars franchise, and while the FPS genre has never been my #1 favorite, I've always enjoyed the ones that have a sci-fi twist. On top of that, some of my favorite games growing up were the X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter games on PC and Rogue Squadron on the N64, so I've been waiting for a game to bring back dogfights from the Star Wars universe. At the same time though, the thing is, I really haven't cared for a lot of DICE releases these past couple years. Both Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 were fun, but not really the best games, and there's a lot of work that could be done on both of them. And while this new Battlefront is trying to emulate the feeling of the original ones, that doesn't mean it's going to actually properly execute it. All the previews have looked great, but that doesn't always mean that the final product will control as well or run as well as we're all hoping. So I am excited for this one, it's just that I'm very cautiously optimistic about it. Well, those are the 5 games that I'm personally most excited about this holiday season. There are a whole lot of other big titles coming up that I'm also looking forward to, and once they're released might even end up overtaking some of these, including the likes of Halo 5 and Tomb Raider. Which ones end up being for sure my top 5 games of 2015, you'll just have to find out at the end of the year when they all come out. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button to let me know, as well as subscribe and follow me on Twitter. I'll be seeing you guys soon with more great content, but until then, I'm Kevin Kenson, and I'll see you guys later.